Hey, this is Rodney Stuckey. Hope you enjoy this day with me, and let's go.
Rodney Norvell Stuckey, born April 21st, 1986. Today's feature is a guy many had a lot of expectations for heading into the NBA, none more than the Pistons president and general manager Joe Dumars, who selected Stuckey 15th overall in 2007 as the inevitable replacement for 2004 NBA Finals MVP Chauncey Billups. Expectations exceeding in hindsight, but at the time, Stuckey fit the mold of what Joe Dumars and Detroit would covet for their physical, hard hat and lunch pail culture. A guy that presented the physical advantage at 6'5" every night over point guards in the league at the time, with an NBA champion, Finals MVP, and possible Hall of Famer to study and learn from every day in the same locker room, and an organization highly invested in seeing him become the cornerstone for their franchise going forward. Not to mention opportunity fully invested in him to be exactly what he was meant to be. Such isn't the case for many players, where opportunity is often earned, never comes or luckily given to you, which is why being drafted within the NBA lottery is so important to prospects. Those 14 guys are treated for the next 4 years as if the franchise's future rests on their shoulders and given any and everything they need to see a bright future fulfilled. The Detroit Pistons had won the NBA championship in 2004, went to the finals again in 2005 and lost to the Spurs. 2006 lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the eventual champion Miami Heat, and lost in those same conference finals once again in 2007 before Rodney Stuckey was drafted. I can remember when it happened and me saying in jest that the Pistons were moving too quickly trying to force Chauncey Billups out, as well as reconstruct the team when they were still capable of winning 70% of their games every year. Yes, coming up short in the end, and their veteran players, which were pretty much their important players, aging more and more, but they still had a winning formula and only needed a few added pieces to their bench, and even Stuckey could have came in and served as a great backup for Billups. But again, I remember that time in the NBA, and all everyone could talk about was how Rodney Stuckey was the next Dwayne Wade and a soon replacement for Mr. Big Shot himself. After 2 games his second year, Detroit made Stuckey the starting point guard, trading Chauncey Billups to the Nuggets for Allen Iverson. Stuckey never became the team's best player in 7 years, usually 5th or 6th in win share, and the team has gone 149 and 247 ever since handing him the keys. Stuckey's career wasn't a bad one, but was it disappointing? Seeing what he was selected to come in and be? Yes, that could be said, as I don't think in any way he met the perennial all-star expectations set out for him, nor should he have had to been in those positions in the first place. Either way, for these reasons, his growth was stunted. Let's talk about it. Salute to Ayo Akimbe for this request. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Rodney Stuckey was a 6'5" point guard shooting guard from Seattle, Washington that has an interesting story of family and being taken in by one when his mother needed help raising 7 children. It gave him the toughness and maturity he displayed on the basketball floor, appreciating everything sacrificed for him to get where he did. He starred at Kentwood High School, winning a state championship before heading to Eastern Washington, where little that he knew, he would become the only player in history of that school to play in the NBA. To do that, you'd have to be extraordinary, and Stuckey was. After sitting out his true freshman year due to academic ineligibility, Stuckey became the first freshman in conference history to win the conference Most Valuable Player, to go with his Freshman of the Year award, averaging 24.4 points a game, 4.8 assists, 4.7 rebounds, and 2.3 steals per game over his 2-year career. His coaches, after his final game, told him, "You've done enough. It's time for you to leave." He was selected 15th overall in 2007, practically given the keys to the franchise before even playing a game. Stunt number 1, unrealistic expectations. The organization you're drafted to, as we all know, can have profound impact on whether the player flourishes or not. They can move you along too fast, too slow, or even believe in a talent that's just not there in you, and with lower expectations, maybe you would have been able to overachieve. Rodney Stuckey overall had a solid 10-year career, and nothing's being taken from him. But Detroit had the wrong idea about him from day one, and it cost them and Stuckey both. You know how it is, it's always out with the old and in with the new when it comes to athletics, and Chauncey, being in his early 30s by Rodney's arrival, having lost in 3 back-to-back years, ending in disappointment, almost getting over the hump, looked like the time had come. Billups also had opted out of his contract with the team at the time of Rodney's draft, a few days later signing a 4-year, $46 million deal to stay with the Detroit Pistons. It would only last a season and 2 games into 08-09 before the Pistons traded Billups and brought in Allen Iverson, giving Stuckey the keys to the franchise he had yet to show worthy. Even with the promotion, the Pistons were too unstable to implement a long-term plan to help Stuckey develop. He had a new head coach just about every year with Detroit, who passed him around from point guard to shooting guard, coming off the bench to starting and ball in hand. He was always seen as being a cornerstone piece without cornerstone pedigree or proof in the NBA he could fit Billups' shoes. His rookie year, he averaged 7 points, 2.8 assists, and shot 18% from 3 and 40% from the field. Yet the plan was set and carried out after 2 games in 08-09, placing Stuckey in a position he wasn't equipped to win from. Stunt number 2, one-dimensional. A huge issue with college basketball versus the NBA has always been the fact as a player, you can get away with being deficient in one or more areas in college and still be a highly productive and decorated player on paper. Then when you get to the league, you quickly see that those lacks can typecast you into a one-dimensional player easily to be figured out by some of the best coaches and teams in the world. One of Rodney's biggest deficiencies that made him one-dimensional was his deep shooting. Since college, Stuckey struggled being consistent with his deep shot. He shot 37% from 3 as a freshman, attempting almost 5 a game and playing 33 minutes per game, but followed that up with shooting 26% from deep, attempting even more a game. Stuckey always had an unorthodox form, getting away with a shorter distance in college, as well as the confidence to do whatever he wanted on the floor as the player he was. But when he got to the NBA, teams picked up on the fact he wasn't comfortable shooting the deep ball and easily played him for the drive, going under all pick and rolls, living with the result usually falling in their favor. It would take Rodney 8 seasons before he showed confidence taking the deep shot. With this, he could keep the defense honest and not clogging the lane, giving their opponents the advantage every time he was on the floor. He was a score-first point guard, and that's about it. One dimension to a game that was supposed to replace a likely future Hall of Famer. Stunt number 3, injuries. And finally, Rodney Stuckey didn't meet expectations because every time he was seemingly finding his way to, he'd acquire a small injury here, not so small one there, that all interrupted his consistency. For example, coming into the league with a broken hand suffered in the final preseason game in 2007 caused Stuckey to miss nearly 2 months to begin his rookie year. He was supposed to show he could be more than just a driver or shooting guard in a point guard's role, but couldn't knock down open shots kicked to him, or if ever the defense wanted to play him as a driver. He played 52 games as a rookie and never played an 82-game season. He would endure knee, both hamstrings, hand, wrist, and ankle injuries over his career that didn't take him away for extended times, but important ones to his development. All in all, in hindsight, Rodney Stuckey was always going to be an average NBA player, but Detroit bet everything on him being their next All-Star. He had a lot of deficiencies in his game, Ones you can't always teach or get a player to commit to changing, like 3-point shooting or being a more well-rounded player that could do more than one thing. Solid player, 10 years in the league, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.